Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation in Spain, day 186 of the current situation. And there's not a lot of good news today, so if you want to turn off now, you're more than welcome to do so. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as always. A big thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise. Thank you very much for that. And a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your ongoing support. Now, as I said, not a lot of positive news here in Spain at the moment, and the big news today is that Madrid will tighten restrictive measures in the face of sustained growth of the pandemic as possible selective confinements. Antonio Zapatero, the Deputy Minister of Public Health and COVID-19 Plan of the Community of Madrid, has announced that restrictive measures will be tightened at the end of the week, especially in terms of mobility, given the sustained growth of the pandemic due to citizen relaxation. According to Zapatero, measures are being studied to restrict the accumulation of people and also mobility, which could mean confining basic health areas, those with the highest incidence in the region. Now we can see here the advance of the coronavirus in Madrid. The capital city triples the average numbers of cases in Spain, with a cumulative incidence of cases in the last 14 days of 1,241 per 100,000 inhabitants. The Puente de Vallecas district is one of the main sources of contagion in the country. So there we go, restrictive measures to be tightened in Madrid in certain areas, especially those areas where the health situation is out of control. Now, the president of the Community of Madrid, Ms. Díaz Ayuso, came out yesterday and said that the way of life of immigrants has facilitated the contagion of coronavirus in Madrid. The president of the Community of Madrid says that the highest rates of contagion of coronavirus occur in areas with a high population density and with a lifestyle that favors it. So the Madrid president there, not mincing her words and blaming immigrants and their lifestyle as one of the reasons for such high contagion levels in the capital city. Now, there's been a lot of talk in recent times about primary care in the hospital system and the fact that it is currently under a great deal of stress at the moment. We can see here that the second wave of the coronavirus is hitting primary care hard. We are on the verge of collapse, one headline says. And when talking about primary healthcare in Madrid, they say there are not enough doctors for so many patients. Regional leaders have pledged to invest 80 million euros to revamp an under-resourced system, but professionals are skeptical as they struggle to cope with a second wave of COVID-19. The numbers don't tell the whole story of the dramatic situation facing Madrid's understaffed primary healthcare professionals as they try to cope with the second COVID-19 wave. Doctors on the front line of the fight against the virus are seeing over 80 patients on average during a single shift, according to unions. Their efforts are aimed at making up for a shortage of 600 family physicians and 150 pediatricians in the region, according to the same sources. So primary healthcare in some parts of Spain apparently on the verge of collapse, and in Madrid they're putting the problem down to a lack of doctors. And if you've been watching Spanish news over the last couple of days, you will have seen lots of images of these medical centres, these primary healthcare centres, and the long queues that are beginning to form out the front of them. Now, with the situation at a critical point, especially here in Madrid, we can see that the Madrid Medical Union has called an indefinite strike in primary care on September the 28th. So doctors in Madrid, the latest group to call a strike. Remember that there have been various teachers out on strike in recent times and also students protesting on strike as well. So education and healthcare in Spain at the moment, not in very good shape. Now let's have a look at the map and graph of health data here in Spain from El Confidencial newspaper. We can see here that in the last 7 days, contagions are up 4.22%. Hospitalizations are up 8.2% and deaths are up 46.3% on previous published information. And if we have a look at the evolution of accumulated cases in a 14-day period per 100,000 inhabitants in various autonomous communities around Spain, we can see that Madrid is out in front at 651.5 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Navarra in the north of Spain also has worrying numbers at 501.98 cases, and numbers in Andalusia are still relatively low compared to Madrid and Navarra at 130.55 cases per 100,000 inhabitants over a 14-day period. And Asturias in the north of Spain still has the lowest amount of cases at 73.03. Now, for many people, myself included, this whole pandemic thing is very difficult for me to get my head around. Information changes on a daily basis. You read something new every day, and this latest piece of news caught my attention, in which they say that a study warns that protective immunity against COVID-19 is short-lived. One of the key questions of the coronavirus that remains unanswered is how long the immunity acquired after the disease lasts for. Today, a study published in Nature Medicine warns that the protective immunity against SARS-CoV-2 could be short. So again, just another example about how information on this virus changes on a daily basis. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video that Spain's Attorney General's office has come out and said that the government will not be investigated for the way it handled the pandemic back in the months of March, April and May. As predicted, this news hasn't been met well by all sectors of society. We can see here in one newspaper that they say that Spain, an oasis in Europe, in its refusal to investigate the management of the pandemic. In France or Italy, the PPO has spearheaded initiatives to clarify the action of their governments, and in Sweden, Denmark, Germany or the UK, commissions of independent experts have been formed. But of course, here in Spain, we're still waiting for an internal investigation. And of course, yesterday with the news from the Attorney General's office, we may never fully get an investigation of what happened in this country. The government's management or mismanagement of the situation will be swept under the carpet. And finally, a piece of news about the economy. One of Spain's biggest think tanks, Funcas, has warned of a longer and deeper crisis, saying that GDP will sink by 13% in 2020. Funcas has lowered its growth forecasts mainly for three reasons: the loss of the tourist season, the uncertainty generated by the outbreaks in economic agents, and the risk of business bankruptcies given the financial difficulties they are experiencing due to COVID. So warnings there of a longer and deeper crisis to finish the news off for today. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Capturing Madrid. Thank you so much for all your input and information. I'm looking to relocate to Spain this winter, but it's so stressful due to the virus. Jobs are stopped or postponed, etc. However, I will not give up. Yeah, Capturing, thanks for the comment, and good to see that you are not giving up on your endeavor to move to this country. And you're right, everything is a little bit stressful for a lot of people at the moment, and unfortunately it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And the whole job situation, unfortunately, is still a little bit unknown at this point. We don't know how many jobs are still going to be around. We don't know how many jobs have been lost. We don't know what the job market is going to look like next year. So a lot of uncertainty still related to the job market. But as you said, don't give up, and I'm sure things will improve. One here from Linda. Hi Stuart, many thanks for all your daily updates on the situation in Spain. I've just cancelled our flights for 2 weeks' time to Alicante, where we have a house 40 minutes south, as my partner doesn't want to self-isolate on our return. I changed them to January, hoping that things might change. Problem is, as we haven't been there since the end of January and the hedges and plants have been growing apace, guess we'll return to a jungle. No, COVID no es un juego, existe de verdad. Keep up the good work. Yeah, Linda, thanks for the comment. Bit of a bummer, that self-isolation aspect that you guys have to put up with there in the UK, putting a lot of people off coming to Spain this year. And in your particular situation with a house here, and as you said, the garden getting out of control, you might be faced with a jungle when you eventually get here. Is there any way that you can hire a gardener in the area to go and cut the hedges and look after the garden for you? That could be one of the options. And unfortunately, the way things are going here at the moment, January might be a little bit too soon. One here from Circle. Good evening, Stuart. Thanks a lot for your update. I'm French and I joined my boyfriend at the beginning of the lockdown. We live near Valencia and I'm basically trying to get an appointment to get the NIE since then. Every day is the same disappointment with a fail when I am trying on the government website. Do you know any other options to have the NIE? Thanks a lot. Yeah, Circle, thanks for the comment. Sorry to see that you are having problems getting that number. To be honest, I don't know the best way to do this. I've never tried the government website. I don't do the forms myself. I normally hand that over to a gestor or a lawyer. I pay a small fee and he normally gets me the appointment and takes care of things for me. I am being a little bit lazy, I do agree, but my experience in the past has told me that sometimes it's better to use a professional in order to get these things done. That could be an option. I saw another comment from somebody saying that they didn't have a problem getting their number. They went to the police station and everything was organized fairly smoothly, so you can look into that as well. But as I said yesterday, I have seen a lot of comments from people saying that the process has been delayed in certain areas, and that might be one of the problems. But stick at it. One here from Robert. It isn't an NIE anymore, Stuart. It's a biometric TIE card from now on. Yeah, Robert, thanks for the comment. I think those two things are different. I think the NIE is one thing and the TIE is another thing. The NIE, of course, being the number that everybody gets, and the TIE, of course, being the tarjeta or the card. Of course, if you have a card, your number is on it. And I think one of the main differences is that the card does expire, but the number never expires. For example, I have to renew my card every 5 years, but the number continues to be the same. And from what I've read, the card is the most important thing because it proves your residency in the country. The number apparently doesn't prove your residency, but the card does. So those are some of the differences between the two. One here from Juan, just wondering if the pandemic has affected the Spanish wine industry. We love Riojas and are hoping that the supply chain is not disrupted. Yeah, Juan, thanks for the comment. I haven't heard anything about the supply chain being disrupted here in Spain regarding wine. I think that they're still pumping out the bottles as usual. I haven't seen any shortages at the local supermarket, and wine seems to be in abundance at the moment. Prices don't seem to have gone down, and that's a bit of a bummer. But I have seen in recent times that there are problems getting people to pick the grapes, so I don't know if that is going to affect the situation next year. If you can't get people to pick the grapes, or if there's a health problem with the people picking the grapes, then there might be a problem with next year's supply. So hopefully that's not going to happen. One here from Cabo. I am based in Mallorca. The tapas are generally not good in the average restaurant, mostly deep fried and greasy. I've never had a decent calamari Andalusia style or croquetas. Padron peppers always blasted in the deep fryer. I'm a little biased as I am a chef. I know what is good and what is not. However, if you pay big bucks, the food in Spain is very, very good. Generally speaking, the average tapas in the town cities are nothing to write home about. Stick with the Iberico ham and chopped manchego cheese. That's a safe bet. Yeah, Cabo, thanks for the comment, and I agree. There is a lot of fried food on the tapas menu here in many, many places in Spain, and that food should be avoided. In Spain, they have an expression which is fritanga. You often hear people talking about a fritanga or a bar that smells like a fritanga, and that's that smell that when you go into a place and you come out of the place and you smell your shirt, you get that terrible fried, oily smell in your clothes. That's what they call here a fritanga. And unfortunately, there's lots of places in Madrid where you have that fritanga experience. And you're right, if you pay a lot of money, you can get very, very good food. But I like to go to places that are in the middle, neither expensive nor cheap, and you can get a fairly decent meal in those places as well, in my opinion. Finally, one here from Derek. The best tapas I ever had was in Camberley in Surrey. I kid you not. Yeah, hi Derek, thanks for the comment. The best tapas you ever had were in Surrey? I find that hard to believe. I've also had tapas in different places around the world outside Spain. I remember in the UK going to a tapas bar. I remember in Australia going to a tapas bar as well. And to be honest, the food wasn't bad, but you don't have that authentic Spanish experience, which is what tapas is all about. Those busy tapas bars, the food on display, the atmosphere that you have in Spain when you have tapas, the relaxed atmosphere that you have here in Spain when it comes to drinking and eating. Very, very difficult to get those in other places around the world, especially in Australia where the hygiene standards are very, very high. You just can't capture that true, authentic tapas experience, in my opinion. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't like the video. See you in the next one. Hasta luego.